guys, today I am going to talk about how to mix the shades and the tints for your Sherry Shipley painting. So by now you should have the painting all drawn out in pencil, and you should have those organic shapes inside of your animal. So I'm going to read the requirement sheet to you, and then I'm going to show you how to start mixing the paint. So it says number 1, the focal point of the artwork should be an animal painted in the style of Sherry Shipley. An animal is made up of smaller shapes, so we should have done that already. Number 2, the painting must contain at least 5 different tints and 2 different shades. The background should contrast in comparison to the animal, and the paint should appear opaque on the paper and not transparent. 2 or more layers may be needed to achieve this effect. So what does all of that mean? So first of all, we're going to define tint and shade. So a tint is a color from the color wheel mixed with white. A shade is a color from the color wheel mixed with black. Opaque means not able to be seen through. Okay, so we're going to go to my document camera, and I'm going to teach you how to start out mixing with a tint, which is a color plus white. So this color here is white, red, and black. I'm not going to use the black yet. You may need to separate and do all the tints first and then all the shades. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the red, put it in another place on my palette so I never contaminate the original color because that wastes a lot of paint. I take a little bit, put it at another place on my palette, and I'm just going to gently at the edge of the white, take a little bit of white and mix it in. This is going to lighten my color, and it's not going to lighten it drastically. It's just going to lighten it a little bit, and you may or may not be able to see it on the screen. I can go ahead and make it lighter just for effects on the document camera. So now I have, because this is vermilion, which is a form of red, it's like a reddish orange. This is almost like a rose color. So I'm going to take this color. Actually, I really want to paint roses now that I'm doing this. I'm going to take this color and I'm going to paint it in several areas on my project. So I'm going to switch this out real fast, put up my little koala here, and I'm just going to pick certain areas to paint this. Now, when the brush gets dry, it's not painting anymore, you need to very carefully dip it back in the paint. Adding water to acrylic paint or tempera does not make it look better. It just thins it out. So you may have to remix more color if you run out. Don't add water to it. I would go through and I would actually paint that tint in several areas. Do you have to? No, but I'll tell you, it goes much faster if you reuse your tints and shades. Okay, so this counts as one tint. Now, what I can do is, if I would like another tint, I can go back and I can add, let me take this back out. I can add a little bit more white to my color. So I can either take red, put it on a new place in my palette and add more white, or if I have some left over, I can actually take some white, mix it into the edge to make a lighter tint. Now, this is only if you have some left over from the original color. So now I have a lighter tint. This would count as my second one. So I would go through, find a spot. Let's say I want it to be on the nose. I would paint it in to the best of my ability. Maybe I would pick some other spots also. Okay, again, if you run out of paint, don't add water. That's not how you work this paint. So pretend that that's all done and I don't want to add any more tints. I could switch to another color. Let's say I want blue, and I could do blue plus white, and that would give me a tint. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm going to be washing out my brush, and I'm going to show you how to do a shade because you're going to need 2 different shades. So I washed out my brush. I'm drying it on a paper towel, and I want to keep washing it until I don't get any of that color. All right, so my brush is dry now. All right, so I'm never going to contaminate the original color. I'm going to take some of the red or whatever color you pick. I'm going to take a little dot of black, very, very small because it gets very dark very fast, and I'm going to mix it in. And so what I have is this sort of I don't know, ruby, dark red color. So I'm going to go through and on my koala, I'm going to find a place that I can paint it. Now I can paint it in multiple places. I can paint it in just one. It's totally up to me. So I'm going to go through and paint that in. I want you to use up the color as best as you can on your palette. So let's say I'm using red. You should have all the red parts done before you move to the next one. You may, if the paint's too thin, you may have to put a second layer of paint on some of these, but usually if you mix it with white, the color is pretty opaque, meaning that you can't see through it. Now, I could add more black to that color, or what's easier is actually doing a new color and adding black to it to get my requirement for 2 different shades, okay? When I am all done with my koala and the tree, that is when I would decide on what the background should be. Most likely the background should be a darker color. It doesn't need to be pure black. It could be mixed with white or black, or it could be blue mixed with black, or I could even do some sort of shading in the background. It's totally up to you. But I would have a plan before you go into just painting. The koala or whatever your subject is should be completely done. My leaves should be completely done before I even go to the background. Now, if you are a student that is using colored pencils, it's going to be a little bit more tricky getting your shades and your tints for colored pencils. Everybody that's in my room is going to be painting, but people that are joining me virtually may not have paint as a resource. So what you are going to do is you're going to do the same thing, but you are going to have a black colored pencil, a color, and then a white colored pencil also. So let me see if I can find, I don't even know if I have a white colored pencil right here, but we can get the gist of it. All right. So let's say I am wanting to do a shade because I have the black colored pencil here. I'm going to go through and I'm going to just color an area with colored pencil as best as I can. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to take black, because remember, black plus a color is a shade. And I'm going to lightly blend in the black on that color. And this is also a shade because it's black mixed with the color. So this counts too. So if you're joining us from home and you do not have paint, you can go ahead and do this. And you can change how dark or how light your shade is by how hard you press or how many layers. The same thing would be with a tint. So let's say I was doing a tint with this like magenta color. I would color on here, and then I would take a white colored pencil and add some white colored pencil to the top, and that would count as my requirement. If you have further questions, please let me know, and I hope you have fun with this project.